My friend Sarah called my name from the trail ahead. I could see her standing there, waving, but Sarah was behind me. When I turned back around, the thing that looked like Sarah was gone. That's Marcus Chen, describing what happened on a day hike in the Appalachian Mountains. He saw his friend, heard his friend, watched his friend wave at him from 30 yards ahead. But his friend was behind him, the whole time. Something in the woods can copy voices, can copy appearances, can mimic the people you trust so perfectly that your brain doesn't register the wrongness until it's too late. Tonight, you're going to hear 6 true documented encounters of hikers who heard their friends' voices, but their friends weren't speaking, who saw their companions ahead on the trail, but their companions were behind them, who followed someone they trusted into the forest and realized too late they were following something else. These aren't stories about strangers. These are accounts of something that knows who you're with, that studies your group, that learns voices, mannerisms, appearances, and uses that knowledge to separate you, to isolate you, to get you alone. Because once you're separated from your group, once you're following a voice you trust into the darkness, no one can help you. And the thing mimicking your friend, it doesn't need to mimic them anymore. Case 1, she was standing right there. Location, Shenandoah National Park, Virginia. Date, October 2019. Witnesses, Marcus Chen and Sarah Kim, experienced day hikers. Marcus and Sarah had been hiking together for 3 years. Best friends since college. They knew each other's hiking pace, habits, communication style. When Sarah said, "Wait up," Marcus knew her tone. When Marcus called break time, Sarah recognized his voice. On October 12, 2019, they were hiking the Old Rag Mountain Trail, popular route. Moderate difficulty, they'd done it twice before. At mile marker 4, the trail splits briefly around a large rock formation. Left path or right path, they rejoined 50 yards later. Marcus took the left, Sarah took the right. As Marcus came around the rock formation, he saw Sarah ahead of him, standing on the trail about 30 yards away, waving. "Sarah," he called, "wait up!" She waved again, turned, started walking. Marcus followed. She was moving quickly, staying about 30 yards ahead. He called her name twice more. She kept waving, kept walking. After about 100 yards, Marcus heard Sarah's voice behind him. "Marcus, where are you going? The trail's this way!" Marcus stopped, turned around. Sarah was behind him, on the actual trail, 20 yards back, out of breath, like she'd been running. "I've been calling you for 5 minutes," Sarah said. "Why did you leave the trail?" Marcus looked ahead. The figure he'd been following, the one that looked like Sarah, was gone, and he realized he wasn't on the trail anymore. He was 100 yards into the forest, following no path, surrounded by dense trees. "I was following you," Marcus said. "You were right there, waving at me." "I wasn't ahead of you," Sarah said. "I was behind you the whole time. I came around the rock and you were walking into the forest. I've been yelling at you." Marcus felt cold. "But I saw you. I saw you standing there, waving. It was you." Sarah pulled out her phone. "I recorded it. You weren't responding." "I thought you had headphones in." She played the video. It showed Marcus from behind, walking into the forest. Sarah's voice calling, "Marcus, where are you going? Marcus!" Marcus, in the video, never turned around, never acknowledged her, just kept walking, following something the camera couldn't see. "What was I following?" Marcus asked. "I don't know," Sarah said, "but it wasn't me." They hiked out immediately, filed a report with rangers. The ranger who took their statement, a man named Tom Wilkins, wasn't surprised. "We get reports like this 6 or 7 times a year on this trail," he said. "Hikers see their companions ahead on the trail, follow them, but their companions are actually behind them or beside them." "What is it?" Marcus asked. We don't know, but people who follow the figure, they don't usually come back to the trail on their own. Usually we find them miles away, disoriented, with no memory of how they got there. Marcus looked at Sarah. If you hadn't recorded me, if you hadn't kept calling, you'd have kept following it, Sarah finished. They never hiked Old Rag Mountain again. Because somewhere on that trail, something learned what Sarah looked like, learned how she moved, learned how to make Marcus trust it enough to follow. And if Sarah hadn't been persistent, if Marcus had gone just a little further, he would have followed it too far to come back. Case 2. That's not how Jake talks. Location: Green Mountain National Forest, Vermont. Date: July 2020. Witnesses: Emma Rodriguez, Jake Foster, and Lily Chen, college friends. 3 friends. 2-day backpacking trip. They'd known each other for 4 years. They had inside jokes, shared vocabulary, communication patterns that only longtime friends develop. On their second day, they were hiking the long trail. Emma was leading. Lily was in the middle. Jake was bringing up the rear, about 50 yards back. He was the slowest hiker, always fell behind, always caught up at breaks. At 2:30 p.m., Emma and Lily stopped for water. They waited for Jake to catch up. 5 minutes passed. No Jake. Emma called back, "Jake, you good?" Jake's voice, from down the trail, "Yeah, just tying my shoe. Go ahead, I'll catch up." Emma and Lily continued hiking. They were familiar with this pattern. Jake would lag, they'd get ahead, he'd catch up in 15 minutes. But 30 minutes later, Jake still hadn't appeared. Emma's phone rang, Jake's name on the screen. "Hey, where are you?" Emma asked. "Where am I?" Jake's voice was panicked. "Where are you?" "I've been at the last rest stop for 45 minutes, waiting. You guys never showed up." Emma stopped walking. "What? No, you told us to go ahead. We heard you. You said you were tying your shoe." "I've been at the rest stop the whole time. I never said that. I thought you were coming back." Lily went pale. "Emma, if Jake's been at the rest stop." "Then who told us to go ahead?" Emma finished. They backtracked immediately. Found Jake at the rest stop. Exactly where he said he was. He'd been there for 45 minutes, wondering why they'd never arrived. "Describe the voice you heard," Jake said. Emma did. "It sounded exactly like you. Same tone, same cadence. You said, 'Tying my shoe, I'll catch up.'" Jake shook his head. "I never say, 'I'll catch up.' I always say, 'Catch you in a bit.' You know that. It's our pattern." He was right. It was such a small detail, but Jake had said, "Catch you in a bit," hundreds of times over 4 years. He never varied the phrase. It was his thing. "Whatever called to us," Lily said, "it learned your voice, but it didn't know your exact phrasing." They hiked out that day, cutting their trip short. At the ranger station, they filed a report. The ranger, Linda Chen, asked, "Did you follow the voice? Did you go toward it when it called?" "No," Emma said. "We just kept hiking forward like we normally would." Linda nodded. "That's why you're all here. When hikers follow the voice, when they go toward it, or wait for it, or search for it, that's when people go missing." She pulled out a file. Incident reports. 7 cases in the last 3 years on the long trail. Hikers reporting hearing their friends' voices. In 3 of the cases, someone followed the voice to help or wait for their friend. In all 3 cases, the person who followed was never found. "The voice sounds perfect," Linda said, "but there are always small tells. Phrasing that's slightly off, tone that's a little too flat, timing that doesn't make sense. If your friend is 50 yards behind you and suddenly calls from ahead of you, that's not your friend." Emma, Jake, and Lily still hike together. But now they have protocols. They check in verbally every 15 minutes. They use code phrases, words only they know. They never trust a voice unless they can see the person speaking. Because on the long trail, something is still calling out in hikers' voices. Still learning patterns. Still trying to separate groups. Still waiting for someone to follow. Case 3. My dad was on both sides of the river. Location: Olympic National Forest, Washington. Date: August 2021. Witnesses: Rachel Carter, 16, and her father, David Carter. Rachel and her dad had been hiking together since she was 8 years old. She knew his gait, his voice, his mannerisms. When he said, "Let's take 5, she knew he meant exactly 5 minutes. When he whistled 3 short notes, it meant, "Stay close." They were on day 3 of a 5-day backpacking trip, following the Quinault River Trail. Beautiful, remote, rarely crowded. At 3 p.m. they needed to cross a section where the trail split on either side of the river. The main trail stayed on the east side. A smaller trail continued on the west side. They'd cross back via a bridge a mile ahead. David said, "I'll take the west side, scout for a campsite. You take the east side, stay on the main trail. We'll meet at the bridge in 45 minutes. Rachel agreed. This was normal. They often scouted separately to save time. Rachel started hiking the east trail. She could see her dad across the river, hiking the west trail, about 50 yards away. She waved. He waved back. They hiked parallel for about 20 minutes. Rachel could see him the whole time through breaks in the trees. She recognized his blue jacket, his black backpack, his hiking poles. At one point, Rachel stopped to take a photo of the river. When she looked up, her dad was waving at her from across the river. She waved back. He pointed ahead, toward the bridge. She nodded. Then, from behind Rachel, her dad's voice, "Rach, hold up!" Rachel turned. Her dad was behind her, on the east trail, 20 feet back, breathing hard, like he'd been running. "Dad?" Rachel said. "How did you?" She looked across the river. The figure in the blue jacket was still there, still walking, still wearing David's backpack. "Dad, you're over there," Rachel pointed. David looked across the river. His face went white. "Rachel, I've been on this trail the whole time. I never crossed to the west side. I changed my mind after you started walking. I've been behind you for 20 minutes. Rachel felt sick. "But I saw you. I've been watching you. You waved at me. You pointed to the bridge." David pulled out his jacket from his pack. It was blue, the same jacket the figure across the river was wearing. "I'm wearing my gray shirt," David said. "I packed the jacket. It's right here." They both looked across the river. The figure was still walking, still wearing David's blue jacket, still carrying a black backpack. David pulled out his whistle, the 3-note signal he always used. He whistled, 3 short notes. The figure across the river stopped, turned, looked directly at them, and whistled back. 3 notes, perfect imitation. Then it waved, and continued walking toward the bridge. "We're leaving," David said. "Now, back the way we came." They turned and hiked back at a near run, 5 miles back to the trailhead. They didn't stop, didn't look back. At the ranger station, David filed a report. The ranger, Patricia Oakes, asked, "Did you follow it to the bridge?" "No," David said. "We turned back immediately." "Good," Patricia said. "Because the bridge is out. Has been for 2 weeks. We posted signs at the trailhead. If you'd followed that figure to the bridge, you'd have reached a washed-out crossing. And that thing, whatever it was, would have had you trapped." She pulled out a map. "This is the 3rd report we've had on this section of trail in the last month. Something's mimicking hikers on the east trail, leading them to the bridge. Where the bridge is out. Where they're isolated and can't cross back." Rachel still has nightmares about it. About watching her dad walk on the other side of the river, waving at her, leading her toward a trap. Because it wasn't her dad. It was something that learned what her dad looked like, what jacket he wore, what signals he used. and it was leading her exactly where it wanted her to go. To a dead end, where no one could reach her, where she'd be alone with whatever was wearing her father's face. Case 4. She called us all by name. Location: Great Smoky Mountains, Tennessee. Date: June 2022. Witnesses: Group of 4 hikers. Alex, Jordan, Casey, and Morgan. 4 friends. 3-day hiking trip. They'd known each other since high school. 10 years of friendship. They knew each other's voices, like they knew their own. On their second night, camped near Spence Field, Casey went to get water from a stream 100 yards from camp, standard practice. She took a headlamp and a water bottle, said she'd be back in 5 minutes. 10 minutes passed. No Casey. Alex called out, "Casey, you good?" Casey's voice from the direction of the stream. "Yeah, just filtering. Can someone help me? I dropped the cap." Jordan stood up. "I'll go." Jordan walked toward the stream, headlamp on. After a minute, they heard Jordan's voice. "Found it! We're coming back!" 2 minutes later, Alex and Morgan heard voices approaching. Casey and Jordan talking about how the water was colder than expected. The voices got closer, right at the edge of the campfire light. Then Casey and Jordan walked into camp from the opposite direction. Alex jumped. "What the?" Casey looked confused. "What's wrong?" You're right there." Morgan pointed toward the forest edge where the voices had been coming from. The voices stopped. Total silence. "We just got back," Jordan said. "We've been at the stream. Casey never dropped the cap. What are you talking about?" Alex's skin went cold. "We heard you, both of you. Casey called for help. Jordan said you found it. We heard you talking, walking back to camp." Casey and Jordan looked at each other, then toward the dark forest. "We didn't say any of that," Casey said quietly. "We were at the stream, silent the whole time. We were listening to the water." Morgan stood up slowly. "Then who was talking?" From the forest, maybe 30 yards away, Casey's voice. "Can someone help me? I dropped the cap." Then Jordan's voice. "Found it. We're coming back." Then Alex's voice. "What's wrong?" Then Morgan's voice. "What are you talking about?" Their own voices, playing back to them, repeating exactly what they'd said moments before. All 4 of them back toward the tents. The voices continued. A conversation that had happened 5 minutes ago, now being repeated by something in the darkness, every voice perfect, every word exact. Then the voices started improvising. Alex's voice. "Come here. I found something." Morgan's voice. "Guys, you need to see this." Casey's voice. "Jordan, are you okay? I can't find you." Jordan's voice. "I'm over here. Follow my voice." 4 different conversations. 4 different voices. All of them. All calling from the darkness. All trying different approaches. They stayed in their tents until dawn. The voices continued for 3 hours. Sometimes repeating their earlier conversation, sometimes creating new ones, always using their voices, always trying to get them to respond, to come into the forest, to separate. At first light, they broke camp and hiked out. No discussion, just packed and moved. At the ranger station, they reported everything. The ranger, James Denton, wasn't surprised. "It records you," he said, "listens to your group, learns your voices, then plays them back to see if you'll respond, if you'll come looking for whoever's calling." "What is it?" Alex asked. "We don't know, but we know what it does. It separates groups, gets someone alone. And then—" He didn't finish. "And then what?" Morgan asked. Denton pulled out a file. 17 cases in the last 8 years, groups hearing their own voices. 4 times, someone went to investigate. 3 of those 4 were never found. The 4th was found 2 days later, 5 miles away, with no memory of how they got there. The 4 friends still hike together, but they don't camp in the Smokies anymore. And they have a rule now. If you hear someone's voice but can't see them, you don't respond. You don't investigate. You assume it's not them. Because something in those mountains has their voices recorded, every word they said that night, every inflection, every tone. And it's waiting for another group. Another chance to test its new vocabulary. Another chance to separate someone from their friends. Case 5. My brother was in 2 places at once. Location: Zion National Park, Utah. Date: September 2022. Witnesses: Kevin and Thomas Walsh, brothers. 28 and 30 years old. They'd been hiking together their entire lives. They knew each other's pace, habits, thought patterns. Thomas would announce every switchback. Kevin would count trail markers out loud. It was their pattern, their system. They were hiking Angel's Landing, dangerous trail, chains bolted to rock face, 500-foot drop-offs. At the chain section, Thomas said, "I'm going to scout ahead, see if the summit is crowded. You take your time on the chains." Kevin agreed. Thomas was faster on exposed sections. Kevin was more cautious. This was normal. Kevin started the chain section, moving carefully. Ahead of him, maybe 40 feet up the rock face, he could see Thomas. Red shirt, black hat, moving steadily upward. Kevin called, "How's it look?" Thomas's voice from above, "Clear, keep coming." Kevin continued. He could see Thomas the whole time. His brother stopped once, turned, waved down at him. Kevin waved back. After 10 minutes of climbing, Kevin reached a small platform. He stopped to rest. Looked up to see where Thomas was. Thomas wasn't above him anymore. Kevin scanned the rock face. No red shirt, no black hat. Then, Kevin's phone buzzed. Text from Thomas. "Where are you? I'm at the bottom of the chains waiting. You never started climbing." Kevin's stomach dropped. He looked at his phone. Thomas had sent the message 2 minutes ago. Kevin called him immediately. "Thomas, where are you?" "I'm at the bottom of the chains." "Where are you?" "I've been waiting for 15 minutes. "That's impossible. I'm halfway up the chains. I've been following you. I can see you." "Kevin, I never started climbing. I got to the chains and realized I forgot my water bottle at the last rest stop. I went back to get it. I've been back here for 20 minutes. I texted you 3 times. Kevin checked his phone. 3 texts from Thomas, all asking where he was. Kevin had been so focused on climbing he hadn't noticed them. "Thomas, if you're at the bottom, then who the hell have I been following?" Silence on the line. "Kevin, get down, now. Don't look for whoever you were following. Just come down." Kevin looked up the rock face. The figure in the red shirt and black hat was standing on the summit, looking down at him. Kevin started descending, moving as fast as safely possible. When he glanced up again, the figure was closer, had moved down the chains, was following him. Kevin didn't look up again, just focused on the chains, on his hands, on getting down. When he reached the bottom, Thomas was there, wearing a blue shirt and no hat. "You said you had a red shirt and black hat," Kevin said. "I never wore a red shirt today. I'm wearing blue. I don't even own a black hat." They looked up the rock face. The figure in red and black was gone. They hiked out, didn't attempt the summit, reported the incident to rangers. The ranger, Linda Chin, asked to see photos from their hike. Kevin pulled out his phone, scrolled through photos from earlier that day. Every photo showed Thomas in a blue shirt, no hat. "The thing you followed," Linda said, "it didn't copy your brother. It created what you expected to see. You expected him to be ahead of you, wearing climbing colors, moving upward, so that's what you saw." "What would have happened if I reached the summit?" Kevin asked. Linda hesitated. "We've had 4 disappearances on Angel's Landing in the last 6 years. All solo hikers who told friends they saw someone ahead of them on the trail. They kept climbing to catch up. When rangers went looking, we found no one, just their abandoned gear at various points on the chains." "You think something lures people up there?" Thomas asked. "I think something creates what people want to see, a companion ahead, someone to follow. And once they follow it high enough, once they're isolated on those chains with 500-foot drops on both sides. She didn't finish. She didn't need to. Kevin and Thomas Walsh don't hike Angel's Landing anymore. Don't hike anywhere with chains or exposed climbing sections. Because Kevin spent 20 minutes following something that wore his brother's shape, something that waved at him, that encouraged him to keep climbing higher. Higher. Isolated. Exposed. And if Thomas hadn't forgotten his water bottle, if Kevin hadn't checked his phone, if he'd reached the summit, he would have found something waiting that wasn't his brother. Something that had led him exactly where it wanted him. 1,000 feet above the ground. Alone. No escape routes. K6. We were all in camp, so who was on the trail? Location. Mount Rainier National Park, Washington. Date. October 2022. Witnesses. Group of 6 hikers. Established hiking club. 6 people. Monthly hiking club. They'd hiked together for 3 years. Everyone knew everyone's gear, habits, appearance. They were camped at Indian Bar. 5 tents arranged in a circle. Everyone accounted for. Dinner done. Sitting around the fire at 8 p.m. One hiker, Nathan, stood to use the bathroom area, 100 feet from camp. He took a headlamp, said he'd be right back. While Nathan was gone, another hiker, Michelle, looked down the trail toward the parking area, 3 miles away. "Hey, someone's coming up the trail," Michelle said. "See the headlamp?" Everyone looked. Sure enough, a headlamp bobbing on the trail, moving toward camp. "Probably another backpacker camping here tonight," someone said. They watched the headlamp approach. As it got closer, maybe 200 yards away, they could make out a figure. Backpack, hiking poles, normal hiker appearance. "They're moving fast," another hiker noted. The figure kept approaching. 150 yards. 100 yards. Close enough now that they could make out more details. "Wait," Michelle said. "That looks like... Is that Nathan?" It did look like Nathan. Same build, same gait, same jacket. "But Nathan's at the bathroom area," someone said. "That's the opposite direction." They all turned to look toward the bathroom area. Nathan's headlamp was visible, 100 feet away, coming back to camp. When they turned back to the trail, the approaching figure was closer. 50 yards now. And it definitely looked like Nathan. Same everything. "Nathan," Michelle called toward the bathroom area. "Is that you coming up the trail?" Nathan's voice, from the bathroom area. "What? I'm right here." Nathan walked back into the firelight, confused. "What's going on?" Everyone pointed down the trail. The figure approaching stopped. It was 30 yards away now, standing in the beam of their headlamps. It looked exactly like Nathan. Same jacket, same backpack, same build. The real Nathan stared at it. "What the fuck?" The figure didn't move. Just stood there, watching them. One hiker pulled out a phone and turned on the flashlight, shining it directly at the figure. In the harsh white light, they could see more clearly. It looked like Nathan, but wrong. The jacket was the same color but different style. The backpack was similar but different brand. The face was. "It's like someone described Nathan to an artist who'd never seen him," Michelle said later. "Close, but off." The figure stood there for maybe 30 seconds, then turned and walked back down the trail, moving at the same steady pace, headlamp bobbing, eventually disappearing into the darkness. Nobody slept well that night. They took shifts, keeping watch. The figure never returned. In the morning, they hiked out early. At the ranger station, they filed a report. The ranger, Patricia Oakes, asked detailed questions. What time? What exactly it looked like? How it moved? When they finished, she said, "You're the 4th group to report this on that trail in the last 2 months. All of them describe the same thing. A figure approaching camp that looks like one of their group members. But the real group member is accounted for." "What does it want?" Nathan asked. "We think it's testing," Patricia said. "Seeing if people will react. Seeing if someone will go toward it. Thinking it's their friend who got separated." Once someone approaches it, once they're away from the group, that's when people go missing, Michelle finished. Patricia nodded. 3 years ago, a solo hiker reported seeing his hiking partner approaching on a trail, but he was hiking alone. He followed the figure, thinking he'd made a new friend. We found his abandoned gear 2 miles off trail, never found him. The hiking club still meets monthly, but they have new protocols now. They do head counts every hour. They establish code words only the real group knows. They never approach figures on trails unless everyone is accounted for and someone can verify identities. Because something on that trail created a copy of Nathan. Studied the group, learned what one of them looked like, and approached the camp, testing to see if anyone would come to it. If someone had gone down to help Nathan carry his gear or welcome Nathan back, they would have followed something into the darkness that wore Nathan's face. And the real Nathan would have watched his friend disappear into the forest, following a copy of himself. A copy that only needed them to get close enough. Close enough to grab. 6 cases, 6 groups, 6 times something mimicked people they knew. Marcus followed Sarah into the forest. Sarah was behind him the whole time. Emma and Lily heard Jake tell them to go ahead. Jake was waiting at a rest stop, wondering where they were. Rachel watched her dad hike on the other side of the river. Her dad was behind her. The figure was leading her to a washed-out bridge. Alex, Jordan, Casey, and Morgan heard their own voices calling from the darkness, repeating their conversation, creating new ones, trying to separate them. Kevin followed Thomas up Angel's Landing. Thomas was at the bottom, texting him. The figure was leading him higher, more isolated, more exposed. 6 hikers watched Nathan approach their camp. Real Nathan was in camp. The figure was testing to see if anyone would come to it. Every single group realized the truth before it was too late. Every single person noticed something off, timing that didn't make sense, details that were wrong, positions that were impossible. But here's what's terrifying. These are the cases where people noticed, where they questioned, where they stopped following. How many cases exist where people didn't notice, where they followed all the way, where they went to help their friend or catch up to their group and walked into something that was waiting? Park rangers document dozens of disappearances every year where hiking partners report their friend wandered off or went ahead on the trail or went to investigate something and never came back. How many of those were people following voices they trusted, shapes they recognized, friends they thought needed help? Something in the wilderness has learned how we communicate, how we look, how we move. It studies hiking groups, records voices, mimics appearances. And it uses that knowledge to separate us, to isolate us, to get us alone. So the next time you're hiking with friends and someone calls your name, look at them. Verify they're actually speaking. Check positions. Confirm details. Because if your friend is behind you, but you hear them ahead of you, that's not your friend. If your friend is wearing blue, but you see them in red, that's not your friend. If everyone in your group is accounted for, but you see someone approaching who looks like them, that's not your friend. Trust your instincts. Question what you see. Verify before you follow. Because once you're separated from your group, once you're alone with the thing that mimicked your friend, it doesn't need to pretend anymore.